Today I have another first impressions review for you, and I have the L'Oreal True Match foundation in my hands. I have two bottles because I couldn't decide which shade I was going to go for. I was reading Amelia Liana's blog, I'll leave the link down below, and she was raving about this foundation, saying that it's a dupe for the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation, which you all know I absolutely love. So I had to go and try it to see if it really was a dupe, because this is a lot cheaper than the Luminous Silk foundation, which is around about £36, and this is about £10 per bottle. Obviously I've got two. So a few facts about this foundation: it's SPF 17 and it's supposed to be a light creamy texture with a flawless finish. So these are the facts that I pulled out of the L'Oreal website. With regards to the SPF, this is perfect for daytime and for everyday wear, but maybe not so perfect for flash photography, because you will get some flashback because of the SPF in the foundation, but not too much. It's not that high of an SPF. There is a really wide range of shades within warm, cool and neutral undertones, which is pretty impressive for drugstore high street foundations. I am neutral toned, so I have more of a beige undertone to my skin, and I do struggle to find foundations that suit my skin perfectly like the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk does. So I was very intrigued and excited to try this foundation, simply because of the fact that it has a wide variety of shades and I could find one that could suit me. Now, there are a couple of facts that were conflicting on the internet. According to the L'Oreal website, it says that it has 20 shades, and according to the Boots website, it says that it has 23 shades. So I mean, if I were to trust one or the other, probably L'Oreal website, because it's the official information about the product, but I don't like the fact that there are conflicting information about that. It does get people confused. The second confusing information is that the L'Oreal website says that this is an oil-free foundation. The Boots website says it contains 3 non-greasy, something like that. Let me just check to see what it says. It says it contains 3 light non-greasy oils. So again, conflicting information, but I would trust the L'Oreal website that says that it doesn't have any oils. I do question why Boots would include that if it's not true. Maybe they got mixed up with another foundation, but it's definitely worth looking into it if you have oily skin. It doesn't affect me particularly because I have dry skin, but if you have oily skin and you are constantly worried about oils in your foundation, then it's worth looking into it and making sure that this is oil free. So as I mentioned, the shades come in 3 undertones. You have your warm, your cool and your neutral. The warm shades are named W something, the cool shades are C something, and the neutral shades are N something. I have neutral undertones, but I couldn't choose one shade because these two were very similar. So I picked up N4, which is beige, and N5, which is sand. And they're both on the neutral spectrum of things. When I look at them closely, it's very, very, very difficult to tell the difference. But I'll go into the shades a little bit later. So at first I applied this foundation to my face with my fingers to see how it felt, to see how it blended. And I felt that it did a good job with my fingers, which is really good because if I'm in a hurry, I know that I can apply this foundation very quickly, 2 minutes and be done with it. It left a very nice natural finish to the skin. I was so impressed by it because I thought it was going to be either too light or too cakey, but it was a good mixture of light and also flawless finish. It's very, very similar to Armani Luminous Silk, but I find Armani Luminous Silk is a little bit creamier. This one is a little bit more liquid. And that's the main difference. I find with this foundation that even though it's a little bit lighter than Luminous Silk in coverage, it does cover all of my problems that I have on my skin, all of the redness that I have around my nose, in between my forehead. It covers my pigmentation patches on my cheeks. For people with dry skin wanting to know if it does cling to dry patches, if you apply one layer of it, it doesn't cling to dry patches. It blends in very nicely. It just looks quite natural. 2 layers and more is a little bit of a problem for me. I have dry patches around my nose and between my eyebrows, and with 2 layers it did cling to my dry patches. So I would stick to 1 layer because it's good enough for me, but if I do need 2 layers, I would avoid the areas where I have my dry patches. Now, talking about the shades I have, the shade N4 is a true neutral beige shade. If you have a neutral undertone, if you don't know your undertone, this is a safe bet. And if you have obviously similar skin color to mine, this is a safe bet because it sort of sits in between the warm spectrum and the cool spectrum. At the moment, my skin is at its lightest, so this will suit light to medium olive skin tones. I'm wearing N4 at the moment, which is the best shade for my current skin tone, and you can see it blends nicely with my neck. It's sort of the same color as my hands, so everything looks very even and natural. So it's important that you know your undertone, and if you have trouble finding your undertone, there's plenty of websites online which will give you an idea of how to find your undertone. So N4 was a really nice color match for my skin at the moment. I don't know what it will look like in the summer when I have a little bit more of a tan, but I don't think it will be a problem. If you compare it to my Luminous Silk foundation, the True Match foundation is slightly lighter than the Armani foundation. Luminous Silk, my shade is 5.5, and I find this is getting a little bit too dark for me at the moment, but it's a perfect match the moment that I have even a hint of a tan on my skin. So I don't know if this one will still be a good color match, and that's why I bought the N5 shade, because I thought it would suit me better, just because, you know, you see N4, N5, you think the 5 is darker. N5 may look a little bit lighter than N4 on my skin, but it's not actually any lighter. The only difference is that N4 makes my skin look like my own skin, and with the N5 there's ever so slightly a grey cast on my skin, which is not absolutely great, but I can get away with it absolutely. If I blend it with concealer powder, this will be perfect as well. So I don't know how much I'm going to be using N5 because N4 is such a good color match for me at the moment, and I don't think this is any darker, so I don't know if this will suit me during the summer. But we'll see. I'll keep trying both of them. I really like this foundation. I think it is one of the best drugstore foundations I've tried. In terms of it being a dupe of Armani Luminous Silk, I wouldn't say it's an 100% dupe because the formulation is slightly different, but it is as close as you will get from a drugstore foundation. So if you're on a budget and you want to try a very good foundation that looks like Armani Luminous Silk on the skin, I recommend trying L'Oreal True Match foundation. So I'll keep this foundation on for a few more hours, and I'll come back and update you to say how I get on with it, what I think of it after a few hours, because it's only been half an hour since I applied it, and I'll come back and I'll let you guys know. So it's been about 3 hours since I applied the L'Oreal True Match foundation, and it's now nearly 3 o'clock, and I applied this at about 11:30, so just over 3 hours. The only thing I've touched up is my lipstick. I haven't touched up anything else, and this is what it looks like after 3 hours. I'm going to come a little bit closer so you can see in more detail how the foundation looks. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. Still looks quite flawless. Concealer could do with a little bit of touching up, but with regards to the foundation, it still looks very, very natural. It hasn't sunk into any fine lines, hasn't faded around my nose area, and I'm very pleased with it. So I'm going to keep it on for a few more hours, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like towards the end of the day. So I'm back, and it's a little bit later now. It is 6:20 p.m. So it's been about 7 hours since I put the foundation on, and it is looking pretty good. I've got a mirror here to check. I don't have oily skin, so I don't get oily T-zone or anything like that. So that hasn't happened so far. And as far as I can see, it looks pretty much as perfect as it did when I first applied it. The only place where it's starting to fade a bit is around my nose. But that's to expect because that's the area that my foundation normally fades quite quickly. But yeah, it's pretty good for 7 hours. It has held up quite well on my skin. It doesn't have any patchiness. It hasn't started to come off in awkward places or anything like that. Excuse my red eyes. I've just been on the computer all day long and my eyes are extremely red and tired. But I hope you can see that the foundation still looks quite flawless. And the finish is not a matte flawless, but it's definitely not dewy as well. It's very glowy and luminous like the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation, but it's not dewy and it's not matte. And I quite like that because it sort of gives your skin a very natural looking glow. So I'm going to keep the foundation on until I go to bed, which will be about 11:30, midnight, and I'll see what it looks like then. But I won't be able to update you because I'm taking my setup down, putting my camera away now. But I hope you were able to see properly what this foundation looks like throughout the day. I thoroughly recommend the L'Oreal True Match foundation, especially if you like Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk and you're looking for a more affordable alternative for day-to-day use. Coming from someone who has used Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk for quite some time, I have really liked this foundation. So I hope you guys liked this review. Give it a thumbs up if you did so I can do more for you. And don't forget to go to my blog, lebeautygirl.com, to see a full review of this foundation with pictures and details so you can take notes and take your time looking at everything. And yeah, I'll see you all on my next video. Bye!